Okay, so in this video, I'll be showing you how to create your item analysis based from the responses of your Google Forms. Now, most of us now in the education area, okay, uh, due to the situation we are having now, so we created most in our exams, okay, via online, and you might have been using Google Forms for that. Okay, so Google Forms is it's very easy. It's convenient, though there are some limitation. One of the limitation is, especially for us educators, is how to generate your item analysis. Okay, so the goal of our item analysis is, as we all know, okay, as educators, is to determine if that item is good enough to be asked in our exam. Okay, so we utilize item analysis for that. Now let's say we already have our exam taken by our students, then we have the responses. So what you need to do is, first you access your form, you visit your form. So once you have that, then you go to the responses tab here, then you'll get to see this icon here. So we want to export this in an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to click this. Okay, so we have our sheets here. So what you're going to do is you click on the file in the menu here, you click choose download, then Microsoft Excel option. Okay, so I'm going to save this in my desktop. So click on save. So once you have that downloaded, okay, so you will have this opened in your Excel application. Okay, so first you need to click this. Okay, so you now have full access of your responses here. Now, first step, okay, for me is we could hide or delete this column. So I'll be deleting this since I will not be using this in the actual analysis. Okay, I'll be deleting that. Okay, then a helpful thing you can do is you insert another column, then you could have student number here. Okay, this pertains to the sequence. Okay, but before that, okay, you need to arrange the score in order, okay, from the largest to the smallest. Okay, so we could select this column here, then you click on this button here, sort and filter. So sort largest to smallest. Okay, you want to expand the selection so that anything the rows that are being associated with this cell as it is being arranged, okay, would come along with the arrangement. Okay, so you click on sort. So now you have your scores arranged from the largest, okay, highest score, to the lowest. Okay, so what we can do is to make it easier for us to count, since we are going to get a certain percentage of the top and bottom performing students in our exam. So we could add sequence number here. Now instead of manually writing that, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, what you can do is, okay, you could even end at 2. You can select, okay, all the cell or the cell which has 1 and 2 in it. Okay, then you double click, it will automatically, okay, provide you with the sequence number up until the last cell which has data in it. Okay, so we get to see there are a total of 117 students who took this exam. Okay, so let's just arrange this. So next is the actual analysis part, or we get the sample data, the sampling. Okay, now based on my research, okay, the percentage that we're going to retrieve from this set is 27%. So 27% of the top okay, top performing students, then 27% from the bottom performing students. 27 of 117, okay, so that is 117 times 0.27, so that is 31.59. So we could get 32. Okay, so 32 students, top 32 students, then bottom 32 students. Okay, so we select. Okay, you click here so that it will be selecting the entire, okay, row here. Okay, so we select up until 32. Okay, so 30. To be careful, you need to select where the actual data is, not the label. Okay, so that is 32. Okay, so you can right click, copy, then on another tab here on your sheet, or another sheet in your Excel here, click on that, so you paste it here. Okay, so paste. Okay, so now you have your top 32 students who got the high score. Next is you get the bottom 32. Okay, so you copy that, then paste it here. Paste. Okay, so now we have our data. We're no longer really concerned with the score. Okay, the score, the name, we are only concerned with the items. Okay, we're going to delete this. Okay, the score, other fields here that doesn't require the actual analysis. Okay, we're going to delete that. So now we are left with the answers of our top 27 and bottom 27% performers. We can press on Control A. Okay, it will automatically select all those cells that has data in it. Okay, you copy this, then in another sheet. Okay, so we could label this, let's say sample, then the actual analysis part here. So select a cell, so you right click, then transpose. So what this will do is it will change the axis to where your score and your item is. This is the answers of our top performing student here. Okay, in this part you get all the 32 students. So this is the top 32 students who got your who performed well on your exam. So you merge and center that. So what we can do is change this. We assign this to the higher group. Okay, so this is our top performers in our exam. Then here, so this would be our bottom performers, so lower group. So to avoid panning horizontally, okay, since we are really not concerned with seeing this data here, okay, what we can do is we adjust the length or the width of our column. Okay, so doing this will, it will just give us an overview of the data that we're working on. Okay, so here we're going to create another column. So this would be, we could we will write here the item. Okay, so 1, 2, so I have 1 to 35 items to be analyzed. Okay, so now we have assigned the higher group, the lower group. Okay, you could then add the correct answer here. Okay, correct, or you could just write answer here, answer. Okay, so if your top performer managed to get your exam at a perfect score, this would be easier since you need only to copy all his answers, okay, as the correct answer for your exam. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, then paste here. Okay, so the next thing is we are going to determine if they got that answer correctly. Okay, now here we're going to repeat some of the steps here. So we're going to add an item here, then 1, 2, then up and select up until 35. So we want to have up until 35. So take note of the tooltip there. Okay, what we're going to do is, we're going to select 32. We're going to merge and center that. Then again, you're going to write here higher group. Doing that here. Okay, so we're going to merge and center that. This would be our lower group. So now we compare, their answers to the correct answer. So we could simply do this by creating a formula, equal sign if, if their answer, so if their answer is equal to the correct answer, we're going to display in the cell here 1. Otherwise, that will be 0. Okay, so of course we get to expect that this cell here is 1. Okay, so you need to plot the entire their answers to the answers here. So to do that, what you can do is we lock this column here, column B. Going to lock this so that it could correctly plot the answers to the correct answer. So clicking on enter, what you can do is you're going to select that. Well, let's check. So it's plotting correctly. Then let's try double clicking. So once you double click, again, be sure that you're double clicking when the crossbar or when the cross cursor turns to black. So now we have all of their answers being plotted to the correct answer. So if we're going to check it here, so there. So you could further reduce the width of this. So next is we get to determine the number of students who get the answers correctly at the higher group, as well as the lower group. So that will be represented in different columns in your sheet. Adjust it here. We will label this as r.h. So in order for us to do that, we simply need to get the sum of this rows here or the cells here. Okay, so that would be the higher group. Oops. So that should be sum equals to sum. Okay, then so we have 32. So what this means is, okay, 32 students, okay, of the 27% got item 1 correctly. Okay, so essentially it's the full 27%. Okay, so you get to see here all of this is 1. We'll do that also here. So sum, be careful in selecting, be sure that you're starting from the correct cell. So we have here 28. So this means, okay, in the lower group, 28 students got item number 1 correctly. Okay, so out of 32, 28 got it correctly. So you could double click this to get the same sum here. Now we're going to get the discrimination index. Okay, to get the discrimination, I think that is discrimination index or discriminating. By the way, anyway, this is an index. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to deduct this from this, then whatever the result, we're going to divide to the 27%, okay, of our sample data. Okay, so we're going to write equal sign. Okay, since we need first to perform the actual deduction before the division, we could group this first. So this minus this, okay, overall divided by 27%. Remember, 27%, that would be the 27% of the data. Okay, so that is the 32 students that we get to determine here. Okay, we get to that once we decided to to create the sample. Okay, so that we're going to write 32 here. So that will be the equivalent, the 27% equivalent. Okay. There should be no parenthesis there. Okay, so now we have this index. Now how do we interpret this? Okay, how is this index interpreted? Okay, now an ideal question is, okay, a scenario in which in that item most or all of the high performing student got it correctly, then none or a small number of students got that correctly in the low performing group. That tells you that that item is well questioned in a way that only those who know the answer would get the answer correctly. Okay, or only those who study. Okay, so let's say we have that scenario here. Okay, or let's say we have this 32 as our all of the students got it correctly in the high performing group. Then we have 0. Okay, now the discrimination index for that, okay, would result to, okay, so again this minus this overall 32, okay, would be 1. Okay, now a certain range, okay, 1 would be the highest value. Okay, that would be the most ideal. Okay, you want to target that value, okay, from a certain range to 1. Okay, now what if you have, let's say, an item which is got correctly by the higher group, and also most of the lower group got it correct, got that item correctly also. Okay, that would actually result to 0. Okay, this means that, okay, your question is not that we could say not that discriminant enough. It is not that difficult, in a way that the low performer group also got it correctly. Okay, it doesn't really distinguish those who study, not that. Okay, it tells you that your question essentially is very easy. Okay, and you do not, ideally you do not want that. Okay, you want your question to stimulate the student to answer it in a way that they really need to know in order for them to answer it. Okay, so probably your question is very basic, or it's very obvious, or it's really an easy item. Okay, so there are cases that we could not really avoid that, but with this analysis we get to determine if that is the case, that is really the case. Okay, now what if in a scenario in which, okay, none of the high performing group got it correctly, okay, but most of the, if or all of the lower group got it correctly? Okay, this would be very weird, it would be very rare. Okay, this would actually result to a -1 or a negative value. Okay, now this would be a problem, since this would be an indicator that your question might be miskeyed, or you have provided an incorrect answer. Okay, because it doesn't really make sense. Okay, for an item that none of the top performing group got it correctly, but most of the low performing group got it correctly. Okay, so most likely, okay, you have keyed in an incorrect answer. So what you need to do is you review that if your correct answer is really the answer for that item. Okay, now if you have a question which is none of the two, okay, I am stating the extreme here. Okay, so none of the students got it, none of the higher performing students got it correctly, and also in the lower performing students, none of them got it correctly. So you'll have a 0 there, a value closer to 0. What this means is your question is too difficult. Okay, it's too difficult in a way that it could not be answered. So probably a scenario that this might occur is when you are asking a question that you haven't discussed, or you might not discuss fully. So none of the, even the high performing group could not answer. Okay, that might be the reason. Or you have written a question that is very confusing, that the student, even at the higher group, could not understand it. Okay, so that would be the values that you're going to watch out for. Now since we have this, okay, we need to determine when do we say if that item is discriminant or not. Now based on my research, okay, you could choose, okay, or you could decide on how much your discriminant, or your discriminant index you want to be for that item to be discriminant or non-discriminant. Okay, so I decided that a discriminant index, okay, or discrimination index greater than 0.3 would be discriminant. Lesser than that, it would not be discriminant. Okay, so we could write here interpretation. So if this, okay, need to have a conditional here, if this is greater than or equal to 0.3, okay, we want to display, okay, this would be discriminant. And if it's not, okay, it would be non-discriminant. So what this means is, if your item is discriminant, okay, meaning it's a well questioned item, okay, you want to retain that. Okay, later on we'll get to see the action. Okay, when to retain, there are essentially 3 actions that you could perform in an item. You want to retain that if it's discriminant, and if it's non-discriminant, okay, you'll get to choose if how non-discriminant it is. Okay, so either you could revise that or you discard that item. Okay, so you select this, then double click to quickly copy that relatively in your Excel. Okay, so there are items here that are non-discriminant, discriminant. Okay, so for the discriminant item, we automatically retain this. Okay, so we could have an action here. Okay, action. We could automatically retain that. But for non-discriminant, we could select. Okay, we could select based on our index, based on our range, a certain value of an index, if we get to retain or discard that. Okay, so the formula for that would be, we're going to have a lookup function here. So this cell, we want to determine if we want to determine the action. Okay, so here, if it's -1, as what I have explained earlier, so if it's closer to that, this determines the range. Okay, -1 to 0.19. So if that is the case, we would like to discard that. Okay, so from -1 to 0.19, we want to discard that. Now from 0.2, okay, from 0.2 to 0.29, okay, we would like to revise that. So these two array here, or these two range here, okay, or entry here, this would be for the non-discriminant questions. Okay, so if your item is not that bad enough that it got an index of 0.2 to 0.29, then we get to revise that. Okay, so some minor tweaks or some minor adjustment in your question, in your choices, okay, you could do that to improve your question. Now if your index is 0.3, okay, 0.3 towards the value of 1, you could really not have a value greater than 1 based on our formula. Okay, then we would like to retain that. Okay, so again, if its value is towards a negative value and less than 0.2, or from -1 to 0.19, we'll discard that. From 0.2, okay, to 0.29, okay, we're going to revise that. Then from 0.3 onward, towards 1, we want to retain that. Okay, okay, so that would be the action here. So let's try to check if this makes sense. Okay, now for item 1, okay, all of the higher group got it correctly. Okay, and also the lower group got it correctly. So it's not based in its index. Okay, it has an index of 0.125. So but based on this data alone, okay, this is not a discriminatory question. Okay, so it's very easy. Okay, now since most of the low performing group also got it correctly, okay, then we could discard that. Okay, so this is also true here. So here in this case, in the in this item number 3, okay, 30 out of 32 high performing student, okay, got it correctly, while 20 out of 32 students got it correctly. Okay, now this once you get to perform the calculation, okay, you'll have a discriminatory index or discrimination index of 0.3. Okay, so this is discriminant enough since a large percentage of the higher group got it correctly, but a lower percentage, okay, got it correctly by LH, okay, or the low performing group. Okay, so here this is more apparent here. So item number 4 is a very good question, in which, okay, those who studied well got it correctly, those who didn't, okay, got it incorrectly. Or they only out of 32 students, only 12 only got it correctly. But in the high performing group, okay, only one got it incorrectly. So we would like to retain that. So basically this would be the analysis, the item analysis for this exam. Now, disclaimer, I'm not really an expert in this. Okay, this is all based on my research. So feel free to comment down in the comment section if I've done something wrong. Okay, or if there are things that that needs improvement. Okay, but for my item analysis and my question and my exam, okay, since we are required to do this, okay, I have done this in this manner, and I find it difficult to acquire a plugin that Google provides for you to get the analysis. Some online quizzes, okay, have means of automatically generating item analysis, but Google, sad to say, in its forms, okay, it doesn't have this. Though there are plugins, still it's very limited, or if it's not limited, it's very difficult if you are not technical enough, okay, to install and use it. So this would be my take in creating an item analysis for your exam in your Google Forms. Okay, so that would be all for this video. So thank you for watching.